When most people think about football players, they imagine luxury cars, giant mansions, and endless wealth. Social media makes it look like every professional footballer is living a millionaire lifestyle. But that's one of the biggest myths in sports. Because while some players earn more money in a single day than most people make in a year, thousands of professional footballers struggle to make ends meet. And the gap between them is far bigger than you think. So, how much do football players actually make? Let's start at the very bottom of football's money ladder. Here's something most fans never realize. When you hear the words professional footballer, you probably think about names like Messi, Ronaldo, or Mbappe. But those players live in a completely different reality. Football is shaped like a giant pyramid. At the bottom are hundreds of thousands of players chasing the dream. At the top are just a handful of global superstars. And the closer you look at the bottom of that pyramid, the more surprising the numbers become. In fact, some professional footballers earn less than you might expect. Much less. At the very bottom of professional football are semi-professional players. Depending on the country and division, many earn somewhere between $500 and $3,000 per month. That's right. Some professional footballers make less than many office workers. During the day, they might work regular jobs: construction, delivery driving, teaching, or sales. Then after work, they head to training. They play in front of small crowds, chase the same dream as the superstars, and hope that one opportunity could change everything. But for most of them, football alone simply isn't enough to pay the bills. The next step up looks very different. These are lower division professionals, players who earn roughly $2,000 to $10,000 per month. For the first time, football becomes their full-time job. No construction work, no delivery shifts, no second career. Their income comes almost entirely from the game. And compared to the level below, it can feel like they've made it. But there's a catch. Their careers are fragile. One serious injury, one bad season, or one contract not renewed can change everything overnight. They're living the dream, but they're still only one step away from losing it. Now we're reaching the level where football starts to become seriously lucrative. These players typically earn between $10,000 and $50,000 per month. They're no longer fighting just to survive. They can afford comfortable homes, reliable cars, and financial stability. In many countries, they're already earning more than doctors, engineers, and lawyers. What's surprising is that most football fans have never even heard of many of them. They're not global stars. They're not filling stadiums around the world. Yet financially, they're already outperforming many highly educated professionals. And from here, the numbers start rising even faster. Now we're entering one of the most surprising levels in football. These players often earn between $50,000 and $150,000 per month. And here's the crazy part. Many of them aren't even stars. Some spend most weekends sitting on the bench. In leagues like the Premier League, simply being part of the squad can be incredibly valuable. In fact, some substitute players earn more money than entire teams in smaller leagues. They may not score the winning goals. They may not appear on magazine covers. But financially, they've already entered football's upper class. And from here, fame starts becoming part of the equation. At this level, football players stop being known only by fans. They become celebrities. These players typically earn between $150,000 and $500,000 per month from their clubs alone. Names like Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, and James Madison fall into this category. But something interesting starts happening here. Their salary is no longer their only source of income. Brands begin to notice them. Companies want them in advertisements. Their social media accounts become valuable assets. For the first time, football is turning into a business. And what happens next changes the game completely. Here's the part most fans never think about. For many top footballers, their salary isn't even their biggest source of income. The real money often comes from sponsorships, endorsements, and brand deals. Companies pay millions to have athletes wear their boots, appear in commercials, or promote products online. A single social media post can be worth more than some players earn in months. That's why two footballers with similar salaries can end up making vastly different amounts of money. At the highest levels, football isn't just a sport anymore. It's a global business. And now we're about to meet the players who dominate both worlds. Now we've reached football's global superstars. Players like Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland, Mohamed Salah, and Vinicius Jr. These aren't just athletes anymore. They're worldwide brands. Millions of fans wear their jerseys. Hundreds of millions follow them online. And every year, they earn tens of millions of dollars through a combination of salaries, bonuses, and sponsorship deals. At this level, success on the pitch becomes global influence off the pitch. But as enormous as these numbers are, none of these players are at the very top. Because football's financial world changed dramatically in recent years. And that change pushed salaries into a completely different universe. For decades, Europe's biggest clubs dominated football's salary rankings. If you wanted the highest paycheck, you went to the Premier League, La Liga, or the Champions League. Then everything changed. Saudi clubs entered the market with contracts that shocked the football world. Suddenly, players were being offered salaries that seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Some stars doubled or even tripled their earnings overnight. The result was a financial arms race unlike anything football had ever seen. And because of that, the list of the world's highest-paid players was completely reshaped. Which brings us to the final two names everyone has been waiting for. And number 2 is Lionel Messi. By almost any standard, Messi's earnings are difficult to comprehend. Between his football contract, sponsorships, and business partnerships, he earns well over $100 million per year. That's millions every month. Hundreds of thousands every day. Even while sleeping, money continues flowing into his accounts. His influence extends far beyond football. He's one of the most recognizable athletes on earth. For most players, reaching Messi's level would seem impossible. But somehow, there's still one player earning even more. At number 1 is Cristiano Ronaldo, and the scale of his earnings is almost unbelievable. Between his football contract, sponsorships, business ventures, and global brand partnerships, Ronaldo earns hundreds of millions of dollars every year. Break that down, and the numbers become even more shocking. Millions per month, hundreds of thousands per day, tens of thousands every hour. Every minute, Ronaldo earns more money than many people make in an entire week. And that's what makes him football's highest-paid player. Not just because he's an incredible athlete, but because he's built one of the most valuable personal brands in sports history. Now let's compare the very bottom of football's ladder to the very top. Earlier in this video, we met semi-professional players earning around $500 per month. That's about $6,000 per year. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo earns hundreds of millions. Think about that for a second. A semi-professional footballer could spend an entire year training, competing, and traveling for matches, only to earn what Ronaldo can make in a matter of minutes. The difference is so extreme that it almost feels like they're part of two completely different industries. Yet they're both football players. They play the same game, on the same field, under the same rules. And that's what makes football's salary ladder so fascinating. The next time you watch a football match, remember this. Not every player on the field is living the same reality. Some are fighting to keep their careers alive. Others are building global business empires worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet every one of them started with the same dream, to play football. And maybe that's the most fascinating part of all. The world's most popular sport contains one of the biggest income gaps in any profession on earth. From a few $100s a month to fortunes that most people can barely imagine. That's how much football players actually make.